move now to a submission from Lesley McTurk, and I think Lesley is joining us online.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I'm Lesley McTurk, and just checking that you can...
Before you start, if you can turn your video on, that'd be very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Tēnā koutou katoa, and thank you for hearing my oral submission. I support the bill, and my reasons are laid out in my written submission, so I just want to take this opportunity to add some explanation. The bill is put forward in the context of New Zealand being a parliamentary democracy, and I do not accept that support for the bill dishonours the treaty because the proposed principles do not alter or amend the treaty in any way, but they sit outside of the document. The treaty stands alone, remaining a founding document of our nation, Te Tiriti. It demands action by both parties to ensure the Crown and Māori work together for mutual benefit. And the fact that it is a treaty requires past grievances to be redressed, for the Crown to protect Māori, and so on. But these are all calls to action from the treaty itself, rather than being principles underpinning the treaty. And Sir Geoffrey Palmer's view is that the bill is clogging up the House, and hearing the views of 300,000 new people have wasted a tremendous amount of time and money. I do not subscribe to that view. This is an important conversation and one we need to have. The bill may not proceed. These issues may take years to be resolved, if at all, but the process is an important one. This has stirred a national conversation of which this select committee's hearings are an important part, and that surely was one of the bill's purposes. It has been disappointing to many that opponents to the bill at times respond with ad hominem attacks and accusations of racism. A recent Curia poll showed 38% of New Zealanders have avoided the debate because they don't want to upset anyone, which makes sad reading. My experience is that this can be true even within families, with diverse opinions akin to the days of the Springbok tour. For me, though, free speech is not a thing to be feared, it should be embraced. The Enlightenment was built on the ability of people to say what they honestly thought, even if it went against established norms. So I hope that this select committee brings clarity and provides a reasoned basis for its recommendations. A robust democratic society will only survive when all of its citizens feel they can use free speech and take part in debating controversial issues. And avoiding personal responsibility by sitting on the fence is not an option for me. My support of the bill is consistent with my belief that we must honour the treaty and redress past wrongs, of which there have been too many. The treaty is definitely a way through which we can address inequalities in Māori health status, education, housing, and more. But that begins by acknowledging the fundamental principle of equality between people. That does not mean everyone needs to be treated the same. We should rightly be concerned with equity, and a focus on equality is a necessary precursor to achieving that. The idea of horizontal equity is that everyone is treated equally. However, vertical equity means treating people unequally, but in proportion to their relevant inequality, be that health, education, need of any sort. So equity as a concept builds on that of equality. It is not a synonym for it, nor a replacement for it. And examples of vertical equity for Māori would be the approach to COVID vaccination for Māori and encouragement to complete the census forms. And there are many, many others, which are right and true. Equity or substantive equality for Māori can be achieved through such means, and the bill does not stand in the way of this. Rather, in my view, it enables it. The bill captures what is at the heart of liberal democracy, our common humanity and equality of people from which flow our human rights. Māori enjoined with these values in becoming a party to the treaty. And now New Zealand is a liberal democracy with parliamentary sovereignty representing all peoples in our country, which is why I support the principles of the treaty being determined by Parliament, rather than the current principles which have been developed through a judicial process since 1975 and have led to an open-ended interpretation of the treaty. I also believe that the bill is only a starting point. And
sorry, Lesley, just a second.
Sorry.
Just a point of order. I'm wondering, this is an individual submitter. I'm wondering why they're getting a 10-minute slot.
Steve, these decisions have been made prior. The organisations and the notable individuals and submissions are getting 10-minute slots for the full hearings. So we can talk about it later on if you like. Thanks. Sorry, Lesley.
that's fine. Yes, this is an individual submission, not on behalf of the organisation I work for. I also believe that the bill is a starting point, and like the Constitution of the United States of America, where articles have been added over time, New Zealand could add other principles in the future. I support the proposed principles in the bill because I believe in them. One, sovereign parliamentary democracy, recognition of reparations made under treaty settlements and honouring them, and equality of all New Zealanders before the law and with the same human rights and dignity of personhood. The British settlers brought Western values with them when they came to New Zealand, and Māori chiefs clearly wanted to treat with them, already evident in trade and the adoption of Christianity by some. That principle of equal worth of every individual is at the heart of the Western tradition and Christian belief, as St. Paul says in the Bible. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Jesus Christ. And Article 3 of the treaty promises the same rights and duties for Māori as other New Zealanders, which is fundamentally the right of equality at the heart of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Lesley. We've got some time for questions. We'll go first from Duncan Webb and then Todd Stevenson and then Takateveris.
Kia ora, thank you for that. I was interested in your kind of recitation of the Western canon of equality, and my first kind of background question is what place there is in New Zealand for the Māori tradition, which the Westerners essentially came into. But against that background, the treaty was a treaty between nations, and it promised tino rangatiratanga, and if that means something like self-governance or self-determination or autonomy for hapu and iwi and Maori organisations, where does this appear in the Treaty Principles Bill?
Well, I'm not an expert scholar in the treaty. I'm expressing personal views, but I believe that the answers to your questions lie in the treaty itself, the document itself, rather than needing to be in the principles.
Well, I guess my point is that is the words of the treaty. Tino rangatiratanga is preserved for the chiefs of the tribes of New Zealand. And it seems that by introducing this Western idea of absolute equality of all people, you've just erased that bit of the treaty.
I don't share that interpretation. I don't believe it erases it. I think it honours it. All people are equal.
No, that's
I'll leave it there. Thank you.
We won't get into it back and forth, but thank you, Lesley. We've got a question from Todd Stevenson.
Hi, Lesley. Thanks for making your submission. What do you think is the consequence if we don't have this open discussion and people put their views on the record and we actually have a discussion as a country? Where do you think we go?
Well, I'm glad we're having the discussion. I think it's healthy because, as I said in my oral submission, 38% of people are too afraid to have the debate. And I think these are important issues for Māori and the Crown and all New Zealanders. And I think having, oxygen is sunlight, and speaking out is the best way to hear what people really think and reduce conflict. Perhaps it might appear that there is less cohesion because people are taking different positions on it. But isn't it better to have those views debated rather than simmering away, under the skin. So I feel that this is a healthy development rather, even though it is creating stress, it's creating frustration, it's, creating accusations of one thing or another, but I don't see that in the long run as being a bad thing. I think it's better to have this out in the open.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lesley. That's the time we've got this morning. So I just want to acknowledge your submission and thank you for being with the committee.
Thank you.